hair grew longer and longer down to the floor, and her face started to change. She leaned close and whispered, "I will take you with me." Then she opened the lock and disappeared. Welcome back to another episode of Undeniable Fear. Tonight's story comes from Andrew. He reached out to us, commented, and texted, asking us to share his experience as soon as possible. His curiosity was strong, so today we bring you his story. Tonight's story takes us to the Northeastern United States, where a family of 15 rented a guest house deep in the forest. At first, it seemed like the perfect retreat. Quiet, modern, and surrounded by breathtaking views. But as night fell, the silence turned heavy, and what they encountered there was far beyond anything they could have imagined. This is their story. This happened somewhere in the United States, specifically in one of the northeastern states. I won't name the exact place because the area is still active with visitors, and I don't want to make anyone who lives or works there uncomfortable. Our family had booked a guest house on the edge of a vast green forest. It wasn't a busy spot. Most travelers seemed to avoid it. A few locals even advised us to change our booking. But the view was irresistible. Endless trees rolling toward the horizon, a narrow stream glimmering through the woods, and standing high above everything else, a giant light tower like a silent sentinel. Unlike the weathered lodges scattered nearby, this guest house looked fresh, modern, almost inviting. But what unsettled us was what we learned later. It had once burned completely to the ground for reasons no one could explain. Yet here, it stood again, rebuilt, brighter and newer than before. That mix of beauty and unease should have made us think twice. Instead, it made us stay. We were a group of 15, family and close relatives, all gathered under one roof. At first, the days felt almost perfect. Mornings filled with crisp forest air, evenings spent by the windows watching the last of the sunlight fade over the treetops. But when night fell, the atmosphere inside the house changed. The walls seemed to hold on to the darkness a little too long, and the silence carried a weight that made even casual conversations fade into whispers. The first incident happened to me. Or maybe I should say, it all started with me. One night, while everyone else slept, I found myself tossing and turning in bed. My cousin lay beside me, breathing steadily in deep sleep. But no matter how I tried, I couldn't drift off. The air in the room felt heavy, thick, as if something unseen had settled over us. Then I heard it. The faint creak of the door. Slow, careful, the sound of it being pushed open. I froze, holding my breath, before sitting up. My heart wasn't racing. I'm a doctor, trained to stay calm, to trust my senses and not give in to panic. That's why I know what I heard wasn't my imagination. Someone had opened that door. I climbed out of bed and walked toward it. The hallway beyond was dark, the shadows pooling like ink, but there was no one there. The door stood slightly ajar, swaying as though touched only moments ago. Uneasy, I pushed it shut and turned back toward the bed. That's when it happened. A voice. Clear. Soft. Calling from behind me. Jojo. My blood ran cold. That name, it was what my father used to call me. A private name. Something only he used. Since the day he died, no one, not family, not friends, had spoken it. Hearing it now, in that empty room, broke something inside me. I didn't just hear it. I felt it. The familiarity of his tone, the way he used to say it. Warm, yet commanding. Only this time, it carried a hollow echo, as though it had crawled up from somewhere far beneath the earth. In that instant, all my certainty collapsed. This was no dream, no trick of a sleepless mind. Something was here with us, and it knew me. Still, I made a decision. I wouldn't tell anyone. Not yet. With children in the house, I didn't want to plant seeds of fear or create panic. Instead, I forced myself into a state of alertness. The next day, I paid close attention to everyone, trying to keep them safe, all while carrying the weight of what I had heard. That evening, two of my uncles went deeper into the woods to collect firewood. When they returned, both looked unsettled, their faces pale and eyes restless. They told me they had seen someone at the top of the light tower. At first I thought maybe they had mistaken shadows or birds circling, but the way they described it made my skin crawl. They said a figure was moving back and forth across the top platform, unnaturally fast, almost like a trained athlete. At times, it seemed to circle the tower in impossible arcs, vanishing briefly only to reappear again. What disturbed them most was what the figure carried: a lantern. When the figure first appeared, the lantern glowed brightly in its hand. Then, as it circled, the lantern vanished, only to appear again on its next pass. Each time it reappeared, the flame inside burned steady. What terrified them was the speed. Moving like that in the open night air, the flame should have gone out. But it didn't. The fire stayed alive, like something wanted it to. The next morning, my uncles returned to the tower with one of their grown sons. Their plan was simple: climb to the top, take in the bird's eye view, and maybe prove to themselves that what they had seen was only a trick of the night. But when they reached the base, they stopped cold. The entire entrance was chained shut. Heavy iron locks sealed it tight, the kind that hadn't been touched in years. It was impossible for anyone to have gone inside, let alone climb to the top. Later, the caretaker, the man who had first shown us the guest house, came by. One of my uncles, unable to hold it in, asked directly if they could have the key to the tower. The man's expression shifted immediately. He frowned, shook his head, and said firmly, "There are no keys. That tower was abandoned years ago. A tourist jumped to his death from the top. After that, the local government sealed it. That was 8 years back. Nobody has gone up since." My uncles exchanged uneasy looks and told him what they had seen. The caretaker's face went rigid. Then, in a quiet voice, he said, "That's not possible. Nobody's been up there in years. If you saw someone, it wasn't a person." The weight of his words sank into us like ice. From that moment, fear spread through the house. By the fourth evening, it wasn't just the tower that haunted us. The forest itself joined in. That night, my sister saw flickering lights deep inside the trees. At first, she thought they were fireflies. But soon, she realized they were lanterns. Dozens of them, carried by figures that didn't move like people. They blinked in and out of sight, covering impossible distances in seconds. And when they reached the ridge, their shapes became clear. Human-like bodies with grotesquely swollen heads, hovering as if the earth itself slid beneath them. My sister screamed. My mother saw it too and confirmed everything. By then, no one doubted. No one slept. That night, whispers filled the house. Countless voices murmuring, then raging, shaking the walls with unseen chaos. The children sobbed. The adults sat pale and silent, waiting desperately for daylight. At first light, we packed to leave. But before we could, the the house struck one final blow. My youngest brother, only 6, went to the washroom. When my mother stepped away for a moment, the door locked from the inside. His sobs grew desperate. We nearly smashed the door with an axe until the lock clicked open by itself. He burst out crying in my mother's arms. When asked what happened, his answer chilled us all. "You came inside," he said. "You smiled and told me, 'Let's hide and see if they can find us.' But then, I heard you calling from outside the door. When I looked back, the other you was still in the room." Her hair grew longer and longer down to the floor, and her face started to change. She leaned close and whispered, "I will take you with me." Then, she opened the lock and disappeared. The van was silent for the rest of the ride. We only knew one thing. Whatever had been in that house had marked us. And even though we had left, the terror of it would follow us forever. Thank you for staying with us until the end. We hope you enjoyed tonight's story. If you'd like to keep hearing more, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. And if you have your own story to share, reach out to us on WhatsApp or email. We'd be honored to feature it and give you full credit. For now, this is Undeniable Fear. Signing off. Take care of yourself and those around you. Until next time, goodbye.